To celebrate the holidays, we're bringing you 12 days of family history research.
So we're going to take this opportunity to get back to basics of family history research.
And each day, we'll bring you a different strategy that will help you find your family. Merry Christmas from Journey Through the Generations. Hey everybody, welcome back to Journey Through the Generations, and we are on our 12 days of family history research series. Today is day 3, and we are talking about census records. But before we get started on that, go back and listen to day 1 and day 2 if you haven't already. Day 1, we talked about how to start and when you're beginning your family research. And on the second day, day 2, we talked about vital records. So today we're going to talk about census records.
Yeah, when I think about census records, I always think about that time of the year every 10 years where we had to fill out the information to tell, who was in our family, where we lived, things like that. And I never thought in a million years that I would be using those same records to research my family.
Yeah, it's funny because census records is one of the most popular ways to research their family.
Mm-hmm. When people think about genealogy, that's what they think about.
It's almost the first thing that people talk about is census records, which is not odd to me. It makes sense because you find out a lot of information if your family is listed in a census.
Yes, and if your family has been in America for generations upon generations, then that would be multiple census records that you can go through to build your family tree.
So I guess before I go off,
I knew that was coming.
For my people who've been around here listening to us for a little while, we'll just keep talking about census records and maybe I'll say something for sure. Anyway, okay, let's go ahead and talk census records.
The thing to remember,
interrupted you. Sorry.
No, you're good. The thing to remember is that the census obviously is taken every 10 years. And every census is available that has been published in the United States, with the exception of 1890. Because there was a fire, most of the records got destroyed. So if you're ever looking for information on the 1890 census, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to find it. And I'm sorry.
And to be clear, that we do have a census every 10 years. However, here's the part.
This is where he likes to go off.
However, the census is only published for public consumption is every 72 years.
That is correct. The latest one we can see is
1950.
Correct.
Which was 72 years ago.
Yes, although we just filled out a census for 2020, but we won't be able to see it
for a while.
For over 60 more years.
Yes. So that's the part that gets me. Now I've done a podcast.
We'll link it below. It's very entertaining.
We've done a
and
podcast
informative
about this, and I hate this rule. It makes no sense to me. I understand the background and everything, but it still makes no sense to me.
In 2023, it does not.
It definitely should be something that's taken up with the government.
You should write a letter.
It's not going to matter with the way the government functions today, but it's ridiculous in this digital age that we can't get records. So we won't get 1960 records until 2032.
Correct.
Anybody that makes sense to anyone else? Okay. All right. So off that soapbox, every 72 years is silly.
Yes.
But anyway, let's talk about important stuff. Census records. You can find out so much information from a census record, but what you don't want to do is don't let all of the words, numbers, everything on there distract you. You definitely want to pay attention to, like I say, the first 5-6 columns, in
Yes.
there, and that has like the address, the street name, of course, the names, the
Relationships. Yeah.
ages, the sex, the
Date of
all that
birth.
stuff, race,
Age.
where they were born, all that good stuff. You definitely want to pay attention to those.
Yes.
Everything else, it can be useful if you're looking for something specific, but if you're looking for the family, that's the information that you want to look at.
Yes, you will be able to find family units in a census record. So everybody who lived in that household, whether it was, parents and their children and their parents or their in-laws. So sometimes it's multi-generational. You can find people who, were raising other people's children. They may have nephews and nieces that live with them. So you can always find out who everybody is in that household and how they're related. And that's important.
And then another tip is once you find your family on that on the census record on that page, review the page before and the page after, because sometimes, and depending on the community, but
In a time period,
sometimes
yeah.
families lived really close together, and so you definitely, and, maybe not all the time,
But a lot of
just
times,
just
especially in the
check.
1800s.
Yeah, just check. Look at the sheet or two before that, and then the sheet or two after, and just make sure that there may be some relatives showing up on those
Right.
pages too, because as you probably know, census takers would go door to door. And on the left hand side of the page, they wrote down what street they were on, and it's written vertically. And then for each person's name, when it comes to the head
Head
of
of household.
household, then that list on the left hand side next to the street name, the address, the house number. And so you just want to pay attention to that. Also, if you have a family that's at the bottom of that census page, make sure you go to page 2 for sure, because there may be more people listed on the next page, because it
Yes.
doesn't tell you all the time that, hey, you have more family listed on page 2.
Correct.
So just don't think that if you're at the bottom of that page that that's all of your family.
Right.
There could be more on the next page.
Yeah. Continuation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't forget that the census records goes back all the way to the mid 1700s when, America was founded up until, like I said, 2020. The thing to remember also, if you are doing African American research, free African Americans don't show up on the census until 1870. Before that, African Americans were known as property during slavery. So if they weren't free people of color before that, then you won't be able to find them on the census record.
And then a couple of other things that you look for is for the people who are working. A little bit further to the right on the census record, it'll say where they worked, and you might just want to take a quick peek at that, because if say they worked, worked on the railroad or something like that, there may be like pension records.
Correct.
Or something that could help you find some people,
Right.
and so you probably are not going to get that if someone was a laborer or something
Right.
like that. But if they work for
A railroad, or if they were teachers,
or
something like
anything
that.
like that, there may be some pension
Military.
records. So definitely just take a quick peek over there, see if you see anything that may help you in the future.
And they
Just
also
keep note of that.
And they also give you where their parents were born.
Yep.
So not only do you know about that household, you can at least know where their parents, that next generation, was from, because they may not be from the same area. They may have migrated north, and the census you're looking at is from Chicago, but their parents might have been born in Alabama.
Yep.
So then you know that you have some Alabama roots, and you can start researching that.
Yep. And definitely pay attention to the top part of the census record. There's some information up there about the city, the
county.
county, the township, and those kinds of things.
And the only other thing I want to mention is it also tells you if they own that home that they're in. And if they own it, then that way you will know that you can start looking for deed records because you have the address on the census record.
Yep. So, all right, now let's talk about where you can find these census records. And I think probably I guess the most popular place is Ancestry.com.
Or Family Search,
Or
right?
Family Search, yeah.
Yeah. Unless you're like me and you actually want to go in person to the library. Most county records have that county's census records.
Wherever the library is.
Yes. Wherever you are, yes. And every state has a state archive, and it houses the entire state's archives. But for the most part, you can find everything, all of them, up until 1950 online.
Yeah, and you definitely want to remember that Ancestry is a paid subscription site. So
Yes, and
you can't see the census records if you don't pay for the
right.
subscription. But on Family Search, it's free.
Yeah, familysearch.org.
Yes, and you can see it on Family Search.
Yes, all you do is put your email in and create a account.
Yep. All right, guys, we appreciate you for listening. This is day 3 of the family history research series we're doing, leading all the way up until Christmas. We hope you're enjoying the holiday season with your families. Come back tomorrow for day 4 of this series. All of our information, social media, blog, YouTube, all that information is down in the description box of this episode. Reach out to us and let us know what your most interesting find is on a census record. Doesn't matter if it's your family or anyone else. Just let us know if you've seen something really interesting out there in the census records. All right, guys, we appreciate you again. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.